Let me know if my lighting.
Your great look awesome, man. We're with Freddy Barouh. Act is the short film, played at the Wild Sound Festival. 10 minutes before showtime, the theater group unravels behind the stage. Great concept, great idea. It's a 13-minute film. Good job, man. Where did this idea come from for you? Where did this
Thank
concept?
you.
How did you come up with this idea?
So I was in acting school, and I was always kind of inspired about that pre-show moment, right? Because there's a lot of into it. There's magic, there is stress, there's so many different emotions.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to write a story about it and kind of like put everything in it.
And you also acted in it too, right?
I acted in it too, yeah. It was an ensemble cast, so I got a minor part, which was fun.
So how do you like acting and directing at the same time?
Oh, it's an interesting challenge. I like it because you can bring two different perspectives. You know, as an actor, you need to embody the character, and as a director, you need to sort of like feed ideas and give directions, especially in comedy where everything is about, comedic timing and rhythm and precision. Um, and I had a great team. So my first AD kind of jumped in. She was on the monitor every time I was acting, so that's how we worked it out.
So it's a pretty big cast and lots of costumes, stuff like that. I'm curious about the kind of like you mentioned before, it's an ensemble. Where did you get all your cast for the film?
So I went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts here in Los Angeles. Well, everyone you see in the film is pretty much involved in the school. We're class of 2025. So essentially, the school kind of helped us a little bit. You know, they provided us with the theater, and then the costume department was so generous with us. So they gave us the costumes, the Shakespearean costumes, to make that possible and to make the actors look good.
So
And
tone wise, tough film, right? Because a lot of actors and stuff like that, like you want to keep the film grounded, but it's got to be funny at the same time. Where like, talk to me about tone and making sure that you got a film that's kind of grounded in reality, but still a little bit zany. I
heightened.
guess.
So what I did is I focused a lot on the script, to make it work. So I did a couple of rewrites and make sure the tone matched the thing I had in mind, was like a heightened reality in a way. And then what we did is we did some improv exercises with the actors. We kind of like analyzed the script, and then we figured out the timing. And when we filmed, I was just making sure that every scene was kind of at the same level, so we could have something that looked kind of like the same from the beginning, the middle, and the end of the film. But we had some moments where the tone kind of like exploded a little bit. It was more chaotic. It was especially the fight scene, that was so fast paced and everything kind of went crazy. Yeah, fight scenes are an interesting thing to do in movies for sure.
Or did you kind of like figure finesse it in the editing? I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. The editing was, I think we had like three or four different angles. So we were like, me and the editor were trying to figure out what works best. So we were going from the master to close-ups to the master again to a different angle. It was kind of like a crazy process, but in the end, we were very happy.
Lots of there's lots of moments of like camera movement too, right? Like you do have some moments where the act like there's like two or three actors who are kind of having their moments, but then there's that scene where I think it's like the AD are like kind of like moving across different angles and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's
Go ahead.
that's also going.
No, I was gonna say it's a really cool because you got
Yes.
the bright lights and it was nicely done.
So what we wanted to do, that was like a one take scene, is we wanted to show a little bit of the perspective of the first AD walking. She was a stage manager
Yeah,
walking into the chaos, and because we never really had like all of the actors and all of the action together, we would see the little vignettes. Would go from one scene to another to another. We kind of wanted to put a plan where we could just see the point of view, what it is to be actually on the stage. That's why we made her walk from one way to another, and it was a really fun process to film it. I think we did five or six of these one takes, and then you know how it's in the editing room when you just watch it. And then we liked a lot take four and take five, so we couldn't really decide which one we wanted to use, so we had to watch them again and again and again, and we took take five in the end.
and you always wanted like kind of the brightness of the background and the colors that you always kind of wanted that kind of aesthetic.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I was inspired by his experience show. I studied filmmaking in London, so I watched a lot of Shakespeare there. So one of
Okay.
the shows I watched had that a very similar background, and I just love how the colors, give so much light into the scene. So that's why I wanted to have that background. Cinematic. Yeah, it's very cinematic.
So when you wrote the script, did you kind of like bounce it around? Like, what was your next step? Did you always think you were going to film it?
Yeah, I just had like, so for instance, again, I was inspired also by personal moments. Before the show, I'm so stressed every time. Like I'm going nuts. I'm like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? I always check my props 3 times that it's there. Just it's kind of like a little thing I do. I always check my props and everything. And then I wanted to write something about that moment because I perform and then I just want to perform again and again and again because I'm so passionate about it. So, and then I used so many things I had seen in class. So, for instance, I start my scene saying, Ben, are you okay? But it sounds like I say, Ben, are you gay? Which is something
Yeah.
that actually happened in class. So, I had this scene and I walk in and I said that line and everyone started laughing. I look at my teacher and my teacher's like, go on, go on. I'm like, no, you gotta share what happened. And he's like, well, you didn't pronounce it well. So and then like fight scenes again, we did stage combat classes and it was so interesting. So I wanted to put all these thoughts and emotions together.
Have you ever seen the film Noises Off? I
I
don't know if
have,
somebody.
yeah. I've seen the
Yeah.
play. I haven't seen the film.
Okay.
I've seen the play. I've seen it. I'm from Greece originally. I'm from Athens. So they did a wonderful production there, and it's
Oh,
one
okay.
of my favorite shows because it was an all-star cast. Like all the Greek A-listers did that show, so it was awesome experience to watch and definitely an inspiration.
So yeah, I'm sure you've been told comparisons of that play or that movie to this film,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
People mention that. Actually, surprisingly, I've seen like a couple of shorts about actors playing actors.
Yeah.
And one of the people that was involved in the movie, he said to me like 3 or 4 months prior we filmed it. Oh my God, he's like, I hate actors playing actors. And then when I went to him and I asked him to be part of the film, I said, don't freak out, it's actors playing actors. And he's like, well, it happens. It's really
Yeah.
interesting, because you're an actor, so you know everything about the craft, but then you play an actor, so you have to put a part of yourself, but you have to put a part of your imagination as well to create a character there.
Yeah, yeah. I call it masturbatory. When you're doing like something about the industry that you're in, right? Most of them work. Yours works really well, but a lot of them don't work, right? Because they think that people care, but they don't, right?
And something else we were thinking about, like again, when I write a script, I always like to implement feedback. So I send the script out to several people to get
Yeah,
some ideas and some thoughts, and they were
yeah,
like, "It's really cool for us, but will people outside the industry understand it?" So that was our kind of like big question. So when we finally premiered the film and we had a full audience and everyone started laughing at the jokes and everything, we're like, okay, the film worked.
yeah. No, because I think people can relate to it beyond acting, right? They're because I think that we like say you have a presentation, like everybody's out to do something at school, right? That anxiety before you go on, right? That nervousness, that kind of like fear you have, right?
Yeah, and something that was like in my mind when writing that film was expectations versus reality, right? Because so many times you get excited, and
Yeah.
it's a tough industry, and one time I remember that I saw a wonderful show here in LA, and the audience was empty, and I was like, how come? Like it's a wonderful, wonderful show. It just sometimes it happens, and that's why the plot twist in the end, where the actors figure out the reality, it's kind of like a wake up call
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, I like the shot with the director and the stage manager, kind of like that kind of like silhouette. And they're like kind of in the background. It's a nice touch because they're kind of the main characters of the film, right?
Yes. Yes, they are. They're like the idea was we placed them in the audience because we wanted an outside perspective. So they gave that outside perspective. So they were watching everyone else who was in and who was excited about the show and so passionate. And they were like kind of representing the reality of it.
So the film's like now in the festival circuit, and how many films do you make to date?
That's my fourth film,
Oh,
but this one,
congratulations!
thank you. This was by far like the biggest cast and the biggest crew, and it was kind of the moment where you say you want to try something more professional. Even though we only did it in 2 days, I think every we had a really good pre-production process, so we had a solid plan. So even though we had just 2 days to film it at our school's theater, I think it worked out.
And I'm assuming the theater let you shoot there.
Yes, they let us. They put some rules, which I get it because it's a school theater, so they have to. So we were very careful and very respectful, but we did had two 10-hour days to do that. So it was a lot of scenes, a lot of coverage, and as a director, you wanna make sure your actors have some time to play around a little bit. You don't wanna say have just one take. So thankfully,
Yeah,
we had some time to play around with, and there was this shot with the confetti and
yeah.
we only had two confettis to do it, so that was a stress as well. We wanted to get it one off, and thankfully it worked.
So how was the relationship with your cinematographer? Because you have some interesting shots there, right? And you only had 2 days to shoot it, so I'm sure you guys had a pretty concise shot list.
Yeah, yeah. What we did a storyboard and we had a shot list and we analyzed a very specific plan on how we wanna, how we want coverage and what are the plans that we're gonna give more attention. So, for instance, the one take, we gave a lot of time to that plan because we felt was an important part of the movie to showcase all the movement. And then we had a corridor scene where we kind of like see one of the actors outside of the theater. So that was another plan where we wanted, the camera to be outside of the theater and go towards the inside. But the cinematographer Josh Anderson was wonderful throughout, and he gave ideas, and it was great.
So you're originally from Greece, correct?
Yes,
So what brought you to the United States for acting?
yeah, yeah. I came for acting, and I just always wanted to be in Hollywood and be part of storytelling here, and I mean, ever since I was a little kid, I dreamed about it, and the school was really a wonderful acting school. So when I came first time in LA in 2022. I toured the school. I said, "That's the place I'm gonna come. I'm gonna study, and then I'm gonna stay here."
Oh wow! And so I was looking at your Instagram. There's some photos like were you in the military in Greece?
I was, yes, I was actually. I want to write a comedy about the military in Greece. It's one of my
Okay.
future projects. Yes, I was in Greece. You have to do your military service, so I did that just
Oh,
before
okay.
I came to the States. It was a really interesting time, and I had fun actually. I mean, it's something that you have to take very seriously, but I found moments of fun and joy in it.
So you have to do like a year. All the males have to do a year.
Yes, it's a year. Yeah.
Yeah. And then after that, so you went to for acting, but then when did you decide you wanted to direct as well?
I've been directing since a young age. So I studied filmmaking in London. So I direct, the grad film there as well, and a couple of other shorts. And I just when I went back home, I had a bunch of scripts I was writing. I was like, I want to direct this. I want to direct this. And in the meantime, when I was in Greece, I had two recurring TV series roles. So I always kept a connection with acting. So when I came here in the States, primarily because it was an acting program, we were just doing acting. I kind of missed directing, so I said I want to do something where I kind of act and direct.
Gotcha. And then you're going to keep directing, I guess.
Yes, yes, I have one new idea I want to do. It's a new comedy. It's a rom-com, so I've never tried that before. So I just wanna, see where that opportunity will take me.
I'm assuming you want to do like direct a feature pretty soon.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of my plans if everything goes well. I'm writing one of the scripts I have. It's for a feature, and it's just an interesting process to write a feature. Going from a short film to a feature film, it's just you need to make sure everything's going to work out because you do need a solid script, especially for comedy.
Sure.
Script is super important.
Yeah, and so but you're writing and you're just like you're doing lots of stuff, right? So
Yeah.
what's your experience like? What's your feelings of the post-production process? Did you like editing and then like working with the sound designer, kind of putting the
Um,
film together?
I'm actually not very good at editing just because I get a little overwhelmed. Like, for instance, this movie originally, the first edit was 16 and a half minutes.
Yeah,
Second version was 14. We ended up with like 13 and a couple of seconds.
yeah.
But, I'm not very good in making decisions. So I was watching the plans and I was like, I want this plan. No, I want this plan. And the editor was like, well, you can't have both. I said, no, I want the third plan. So I'm not great with the editing and sound, but I think they're a very important part of the film because especially in comedy, it's all about landing the joke. It's all about getting the emotions out there, and
Yeah.
editing is really important.
What do you think of sound?
It's really important. Yeah, we had a wonderful score composer. Ricardo Bocelli wrote the original score and the sound, and I think it helped a lot to sort of like bring the emotions and bring that. That movie has this sense of urgency. Everything is happening in 10 minutes. Everything is urgent. Everyone is super excited. So you need sound to help that emotion come to life.
Are you ever gonna like go back to Greece and make a film in Greece?
Yeah, yeah, I'd love to. It's my home country. We have also Greece has wonderful, landscapes, and we have wonderful islands. So I do think that we should film something there. It's just a wonderful place to be and film
Yeah.
stuff.
Miss your family?
Oh yeah, I miss them. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love them a lot. I miss them, but they come and visit often. They came last year for my graduation play at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. So they watched me on stage, which was lovely, and they watched the film. They love it. It's nice.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's awesome. And like, I like would they? Because I know it's like the film, like acting and directing is kind of like it's a dream, right? It's something
Yeah,
that yeah, it takes you in different directions, I guess,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. In the future, I was thinking like maybe I will like write and act or write and direct. Um, you know, it's interesting writing, directing, and acting. It's nice. They all have a connection, because you write something, then you have to take a different perspective as a director, then you have to bring a character to life as an actor. So they
Yeah.
each have something very unique.
And yeah, so you're I guess you're like you're getting Americanized in a lot of ways, I guess too, right?
I actually like it here. People are very passionate. I was so surprised with ACT because, I saw so many people that they were so passionate and they wanted to bring their best version of themselves. And there's just a lot of passion out there, and I think that's wonderful. And there's a really good work ethic, I have to say. These was 2 days, 2 full days in the middle of school, in the middle of grad plays, rehearsals, essays, everything you can imagine, and everyone committed so much. And I think that's a wonderful quality. People love movies here, and that's fantastic.
Yeah, they want to get better. They want to be part of the process, right?
Yeah, yeah, and so many people want to act because again, acting is a muscle, right? So you need to keep acting, even if it's a short film, a student film. You need to be out there and keep acting and keep being in the industry and keep meeting people. That's the only way you're gonna move forward.
Do you have a first love, writing, directing, or acting?
I think my first love is acting, just because I did my first play was an ancient Greek comedy of Aristophanes, and I was just 10 years old, and I had to play this crazy guy that walked on stage and started screaming and yelling, and I just remember it right now. And in my school in Athens, we had a huge theater, so it was about 1,000 seats. So I remember getting into a full house and acting, and the emotion was just wonderful.
Great. Well, man, I'm honored to show your film at our festival, and hope it does great. And I wish you the best. And it seems like you're
Thank
just you're proficient and you keep doing stuff. So I have a feeling that we'll be talking again when you make your next film.
you. And you guys have a wonderful festival. Thank you for having ACT as
Thank
part of it.
you. All right, let's talk again soon when you make your next film.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right.